Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brandon Roberts, and I want to welcome you to our Thursday Lunch and Learn session. Give a few minutes for people to join in, and we can go ahead and get started with any questions. Okay, so a couple of people in and got our first question today from VT. Can you demonstrate how to create my own SQL-based filters for the report? Okay, so let me go ahead and share my second screen. Okay, so everyone should be able to see my decision screen, and right now I have my studio up. So how to create my own SQL-based filters for the report. So for this sort of thing, we're using a report. And what you'd want to do here, I'll go ahead and remove this. You can head to report, and we can use, let's see, I think it's under. And VT, if you're on, could you be a bit more specific? Were you looking to use like a parameterized query to source a report, or were you just looking to use a SQL? I assume you're using a raw
Hey.
Hey.
Yeah, so you can report on any data source, but when you go to the filters, there is a new feature, SQL-based filter, and currently there are only two of them based on the current user and folder. Can we create one of those? Like not adding this one of these two, but creating one of those filters, just like you would do like a flow source data source.
Okay. We could like a flow, okay, so we want like a filter pass from a flow to use on the report itself.
Yeah, but specifically, can you talk about those SQL-based filters?
Okay.
I know I can do it with the rule, but I'm interested in this one because it's a new feature.
Second then of the folder. I don't think we currently have a way of actually creating our own one of these, looking through what we have right now. So if you had a
Do you know why did you put it in a separate category versus to just put it in, like, for example, into infrastructure or folders, or why is it separate?
I'm not 100% sure on that one, actually. This is my first time actually seeing this feature, honestly. But we can use a report to, if we want to get like a SQL, if we want to pass in a parameter to a report, we can set up parameters on the report itself to run. Let me see here. Oh. This source for this. Raw Here we go. So we can use a raw SQL. We can use a raw SQL query. In my case, I can just do, let's see, select from entity underscore account. And then we can add a field here to the report for what we need to do. So let's say email here, where email underscore address equals, I believe it should still work like this. Now the connection string, we'd have to, we could either tell it to use a current connection string, or we could give the connection string of an environment we want to run through for this report. But we can use this as a field to, no, this is return field, sorry. We can include parameters to this this report this way. For the particular,
hold on. So it says return fields. How do you input this as a filter into this query?
this wants to give me a second. I'm just loading really weird.
And for example, with this SQL query, can you say something like where, let's say, some property of my table equals current user email address? Can you do that?
Yeah, you can definitely do that.
Well, on this SQL query that you're showing.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. I'm trying to do a reminder to myself on how to get this up. I know this is definitely an option. I've done it a number of years ago. I'm just trying to remember where I need to go for this. Let's see. Let me close out this and jump back into the report. No, that doesn't give me the exact parameter here. So we can do it this way as a report, as like a raw data source, or we can also add the table that we're trying to run on. So if we're trying to, we could use like a query generation as well to give the parameters. It'd be easier, I think, to do it that way as a report. So you can come so say I go, I can show you that. I think that might be a bit easier to visualize here. So I'll go to integration, I'll go to databases, and I will create a connection. We'll do test connection 1. And I'm gonna stop my screen share for a moment while I fill out this information real quick. Please give me a moment. Right, so we should be back in decisions here. So we have a table or we have a query for, we want to add like a query. So say test query to lunch and learn. Let's select from to T to there. Right, and go ahead and hit OK and generate a query. So let me go ahead now and jump out of this report, jump back into this report, move the raw data source here, go to database, advanced, no, that's one, database integration, and there we go. So under common, we go to our test connection. I can choose my lunch and learn as a filter. And here's the parameter that I'd use for the value. We can then choose what fields you want to do a filter on for that query that we've created. And that query type, and we can add fields that way.
So how do you pass that dynamically? So let's say pass into that value of email address to be a current user email address.
What we can do then is in a flow.
Yeah, yeah. If you use like a flow as a data source, I know that, but
Oh, you mean like
yeah, on this one, like what's the purpose behind that query having that parameter? Because it can only be static, so I can do it. I mean, in SQL, row, whatever you have shown previously.
so in your use case, you're using this as like a report on like a dashboard, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. So then on a page itself, what you can do to like sort of pass that dynamically is use what's called report selection bus, like a selection bus to pass that dynamically. And so you can choose a report, right? So if we go into the report itself, like I have a, oops, let me look at this one. Yep, this one should work here. So we can get runtime values. And so we can choose the, like, we'll do that parameter that dynamically on the filter itself, right? So we'll have this completed by filter, and we will, select get values from other reports, and that'll give us a chance for a selection bus to be selected.
But this is not for the parameter of the query that you just defined, right?
It wouldn't be for that one.
So what's the purpose using the parameter and source report using that with the parameter that you created, if that could be only static?
It should be dynamic. So let me come here. Let's see. Nope, not that one. Field filter. So in this case, the parameter we did is email address. So we could treat that as also as like a specific, here we go, runtime editable, get values from other reports. So we should be looking, I believe it should be named email address. So we can choose, oh, this is new stuff. So current user email address, here we go. So we can have this selected as an email address of the current user. We have this for current user, it looks like. And we can give it a static value here.
But again, this comes from the SQL-based new stuff that you have created. And you can just use that one on top of just fetch accounts and use that filter, SQL-based.
Right,
So again, the question is, can you add one of those SQL-based? I mean, is it a way to do it over like SDK if you know? It should be, but I mean, if you introduce
Yep.
that kind of filters, I would like to see how to add one of those.
I'm sure there's a way to do this. Let me do this. This is turning into something a little bit more complex than I thought it would originally be. So let me write this up as a support ticket, and then we can have another discussion where we get someone to actually build an example for you to walk you through this. Does that work for you, VT?
Yep, sure.
Okay. Could you, what is the email address you'd like to get responses for this one?
I'll send it to you.
Okay. Yep. I'll get that submitted, and we'll get a call, and we can get that built out and demo that over to you. We can get a sample project built and send that over to you. You can see how it's done. Apologies that it's going to take a little bit longer for me to build that out, but we can get that. There's definitely been a use. I'm sure there's been a use case where someone's done something similar to that. We just have to do a little bit more digging there.
Yeah, and if I have a second, so the high level use case is our I number, like I sent you email addresses, they are based on Okta. So basically we have like two emails like this I number, and which is the identifier for Okta, and also our normal email addresses. So to convert I number to normal address would be kind of overhead to do it each time. So we would like maybe to save when we create like accounts from Okta, probably to save that normal email address somewhere along the account fields.
Okay. So for that, you can like in Okta, well,
Yeah,
I don't know
I
how
know
you
how
get
to do it. I know how to
with
do
that
it.
with like the login flows.
Yeah, so I'm not sure which field should work better, like account ID or user ID, but I'll figure it out.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get an example built out for that, and we can get that sent over. Next question here from Joe. I have a question about a raw SQL step. How do I change the connection settings for an existing connection? I have it configured to use connection string, but it's using the original. Oh, never mind. There's an update. I changed the raw SQL step connection to use external database, and I can select the external database to use. I'm still curious on what use current connection setting uses as its current connection. It should be using the connection of the environment that Decisions is running with, right? So the connection string should be pointing to the database that we have here set to current database name. So whatever connection string is here is what we should be using for the current connection. So that'd be like the current connection that Decisions is using. But you mentioned that you changed not the one that you changed on your DV connection. Is that you changed the database that Decisions is using, Joe? I think you can Roman, can we have can we take Joe off mute and have him speak? We cannot hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I saw the mute thing there. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Awesome. So yeah, so I changed the connection string to use external database, and then it's actually erroring out because those databases don't actually, or those tables don't exist. So that's good. But before it was using what was it? Use current connection. So it was actually connecting to a different database than the decisions database, so I don't see how use current connection was actually working, because it's a different database with a different connection string. There's no way it could have worked if it works the way you described by saying it's using the decisions environment one.
That's interesting that you're seeing it, because that's how it should work. Using current connection should use like the same database connection that decisions is currently using. But I'm wondering, did you make a change to the local connection here?
So I could share screens if you like.
I don't know if that's possible. Roman, is that possible nowadays? Are we able to have the customer share screens?
I think if you promote me to a panelist, I should be able to.
Yeah, I can. But I do have to mention that it is recorded and will be publicly released on the web for educational and coaching purposes. So please be cautious.
Yeah, okay, let's not do that then, because the connection
right.
string's up there. Yeah, okay. All right.
So-
So yeah.
I'd say let's get a support ticket in for that, Joe. We can look at that closer if you'd
Well,
like.
so here's the thing. So this database, this raw SQL string it's kind of old. I mean, it's been around for at least a year or so. We were on version 6 when this was written.
Mhm.
Now we're running version 8. Is that something that might have changed?
I wouldn't expect it to, but this could be an issue that we just haven't caught before. So we're using an old raw SQL step from a version 6 install. Are you guys on version 8 or are you guys on version 7?
Yeah,
now?
we're on 8.9 now.
Okay, 8.9, and then it was using current connection, but it was using a completely separate database. That wasn't the decisions database at all.
Yeah, it was connected to an external database. The query, I can shoot you the query, but here there's nothing special about this. It's kind of long, but I'll give you the first part of the string, just so you can see that the database is not the full query. But you can see it's
Yeah,
not
for-
using the decisions database. It's a different
Yeah.
database. Like I said, that has a totally different connection string,
Yep.
different password.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a different database.
Mhm.
Yeah, it should use decisions though. Well, this is the query. The query itself is pointing to site manager, DBO section information. Okay. Does it? Let's do a double test real quick. I'm going to delete all this again. Grab a raw SQL step. Run it. Step.
By the way, I was late joining the call. So who's talking?
Oh, this is Brandon, one of the members of the
Hi,
support
Brandon.
team.
Okay. Yeah, I think we chatted before.
Hey, Dylan. Do we not see that? Oh, we don't grab that, which is good. We don't expose it. Oh, here we go. Database connection string. So this should use, so if I tell it to, no, let's use custom connection string, pick. I'll rehash it. Interesting. Geez. Okay. That's interesting. It should be using just the local connection string we have. So that's interesting that you didn't see that at all. I think DT had a question for you, Joe. Do you get any errors does this connection string work
No,
outside the
it-
raw SQL step?
Well, I'm not sure what you meant by that last question. Does it work outside of the raw SQL step? I mean, I could copy and paste this into SQL Server Management Studio and it'll run, if that's what you mean.
I think, 'cause it should use that's how it is supposed to work. It should use the current connection of the environment that we have, that Decisions is using. So if I run this for my test, oh wow, it fails. Am I still using oh, that's why I'm using custom. So it runs, but I'm not outputting any data, so it's empty. So let's see, return data, counts.
There you go.
So that, yeah, it should, and this is from my Decisions local. So yeah, it should be just running against your Decisions local environment when using the current connection. That is interesting that it didn't.
Yeah. I mean, those tables don't exist in the Decisions database. So there's just no way that could happen.
Right.
All right. Well, I've got a solution. If you want, I can write it up as a bug, or if you want to create one. But you know,
It wouldn't hurt for us to run it and just do some testing. Let's see.
yeah, it would take a little bit to set it up. You'd have to set up an external database and then get the query and see if it actually ran. But it wouldn't be a huge deal to do.
Let me.
Tell you what, if I have time, I'll create a ticket.
Okay.
But otherwise, I won't worry about it.
Write some notes down there.
All right. I actually have to get on another call, so I appreciate your time.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for joining.
All right. Thanks.
I see Wade has had his hand up patiently. You want to, I think you should be able to come up, mute Wade.
I'm here. Thank you. I had a question. I kept researching process folders and case entities, and like the more I research them, the more of they seem like the same thing. What's the difference between the two?
The main difference for process folders versus case entities is process folders are meant to be, in my opinion, like a singular path for something. So you have like a process that, it'll always run the same path and, start, status A, status B, status C, status D. The case entity is more built for a process that jumps between different states. So it may be status A and then may jump to status C and then maybe goes back to status B and then maybe it will jump back to status D. Are the main use the main use case I see those for.
Because we've been started to use for like one thing we're using them for is like approvals. So it'd be a new approval, it'd be in review, and then it could either go to approved or denied. I mean, what would that be?
I don't think that's too much of a complicated process. I think you can use a process folder. I would think more of like it, like say it goes to approve or it goes to like approve, like say maybe you have like three or four different groups it needs to go through for different approvals for the process. I think that would be a better use case for a case entity versus a process folder. Like that process you described, it seems pretty cut and dry. So there's a couple states and it's always going to hit denied or approve, which is fine. But if it's, it needs to be approved by like, two different groups.
I mean, that's another one. That's an upcoming one. Is it may go through 2-3 different groups, and depending on how they approve it, and okay, so you'd recommend using case for that instead,
right? Like we have one use case I can think of. There's one of our customers that uses a hospital, and they have use cases for different approval processes and sort of getting getting like equipment, and so they'll move through different groups for approval for like different finance groups, and they use case entities for that. But something is like a short, like a like an equipment like an equipment form, like a basic like IT request form, then you would, send over to someone for like one person for approval, and then it just moved to like a approved state, then I would use that like a process folder or something like that.
Okay. And then for those, I guess both of those, are you able to do like a sub case, sub case parent case, or like a sub process parent process on both of those? I thought I seen somewhere that at least on the process side you could do a sub process, but I didn't really see where you could relate to the two.
That's a tough question. I haven't seen too many people do it, but I believe it is possible with process folders, and I guess to that level would be case folders. It's the way they were related is you just have to have like an ID, that relates the case to like the parent case to the child case, which I think we can do with extension ID. Extension IDs when we create process folders and case folders. We generate something called a extension ID, and that sort of links the process data or the case data to like their actual process folder and extension folder. So if we have like a process folder with a child process, I think this relating those two with an ID would work. Are you thinking of having like multiple like sub cases for one case, or is it just like one to one, like one case? I have like a smaller like sub case.
I guess my thought process was having a process and having it like what we would call stops. We have a truck that goes to different stops, and each stop has an ID. So that's like I want to see all the processes for this stop. So you could go have a parent stop that is just basically, it says this is a stop with this ID, that you can have all the sub processes underneath, or sub cases with all the different types of many different types of approvals, and therefore they'll have different entity types or data types themselves, but having that parent process to kind of, you only have one thing to search, I guess is where I was going with that, because we were like trying to figure out a way to have a table that you could morph it into, okay, just what type of record are you looking for? And it'd be a drop down of like stop, order, transaction, just one of those types. And then it would have a key ID or a key, and that would be the ID to whatever type you put in. So you could have one table to encompass all these different types of IDs, and then you just relate the sub process or sub case to that parent. Was the way I was thinking about it. But I just wanted some kind of table to just hold it all, where you only had to search that one table instead of trying to merge all these different and union all these different tables together.
Yeah, it's possible. We can probably make use of like a combination, like a case entity and a process folder somehow. Maybe like the process folder, because like the bigger, like the trip itself is like, maybe there's a couple states in that trip, right? Where, you're at, the trip is going and the trip is being completed. And within that trip, maybe we have different cases, or maybe have that backwards. My best answer here is, yeah, it probably is possible, but I haven't tested it to, like basically see how easy, like I haven't worked in a process like that to say this will be easy to, implement, or like what sort of, snags you can hit with doing it this way. I'm sure it's possible. We've had customers where you've had like they've had like a type within a type, a complex type within a type, and those types have been linked to just different data, defined data structures. But I haven't seen too many cases where they have like a case entity within a case entity.
Okay, yeah, I was just trying to figure out a way to sum all those to have a parent where you could just group them all. Okay, I have a parent, and then how many do I have approved? How many denied? How many total? That sort of deal for an individual record. Okay. All right, I guess I'll have more testing to do.
Okay. Would love to hear how that sort of works out, see if you can find a solution that way. BT has a question. Can you create query and decisions with that connection string? Yeah, with the connection string I just showed, BT. I think you should be able to come off mute again. Yeah, you should be able to come off mute now. Yep. Is it to the local connection or the current
Hey,
connection?
That was
I
a
showed
question
earlier.
that was a question to Joe to try to troubleshoot if he has if he can create a query with that connection
Okay.
string.
Okay. Okay, he's already okay. And I would assume maybe, but I'd have to, like I said, have to throw that to him. Okay.
I guess for weight, I would use like a case as a huge container, and inside of that to create like generic process things, because each trip will be different, and then we can create like a flow that will create those processes as trip goes on. So at the high level, we will have like a case which will be a trip, and it will have only a couple states, and we can relate processes underneath.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and then I didn't know how to relate the processes to the case.
We can search them by the folder where we create the case.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Got it. Thank you.
All right.